Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Taking care of your eyes shouldn't be a hassle. That's why Warby Parker is a one-stop shop for all your vision needs. Our prescription glasses and sunglasses are expertly crafted and unexpectedly affordable. Stop by a nearby store or use our app to virtually try on frames and get personalized recommendations. Did we mention we offer eye exams and take vision insurance too? For everything you need to see, head to your nearest Warby Parker store or visit warbyparker.com today. That's warbyparker.com.
Hello and welcome back to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm the therapist, Tess Brigham.
And I'm Brooke Brigham. I'm the attorney.
So we are continuing our Sister Wives coverage, and I'm very, as the therapist, very excited for this episode. This is Season 6, Episode 10, Polygamist Marriage Therapy. And justice for Nancy. Justice for Nancy. Because I've been in Nancy's shoes and I know what this is like. So, and it ain't easy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is like, this just looks like a drag.
Yeah.
The whole thing. It just, yeah.
Well,
a real drag.
Yeah. There's different theories in this in terms of like, is it really helpful for people to do all this stuff at once?
Mm-hmm.
The whole concept of therapy started because it was like these hour-long increments once a week or every other week, whatever it is, that you are talking and examining these things. And usually people are kind of drained after therapy, right? It's a little draining.
And so you need time to process.
Yeah. And you have the week to process. You have time to implement these things and to see what's working and not working. And, as a therapist, you can come back and go, okay, what's working and not working? Let's change this. Let's move this around. And I tend to be somebody who, even I don't like to go to day-long retreats. I've done workshops that were several days. It's exhausting, whether you're the participant or the person doing it. It's really tiring. And I have always been someone, if I had a paper due in college, like I would do a couple hours a day until the paper was done. Like I could never cram. And I have a hard time when I have to go to these things and cram in a bunch of information at once. So I do think this was a lot. I think the producers obviously paid for all of this because they had to pay for Pat to be there. Nancy, you got two people, you got two therapists on call all weekend, and Sedona. Have you ever been to Sedona?
No.
I went many, many years ago, like 20 plus years ago, and it's beautiful and it's gorgeous, but it's not cheap to go there.
Yeah.
So this cost the production company some money, and I doubt any of them volunteered to do this. I think it was very much like, this isn't, we got to do this. So we learned from Kody in the beginning that they started seeing a family counselor in Utah, which is Dr. Pat, or was not Dr. Pat, Miss Pat. And she focused on plural families. And since they moved to Nevada, they cannot work with Pat any longer because, and I know this because it's a state issue. I can't work with clients outside of the state of California. So once your residency moves, you can't work with them any longer. That's why they kept calling Pat a consultant. Just a little inside baseball.
What have they been doing for the past 3 years or whatever? I guess they've just been doing no therapy.
They've been doing no therapy.
Okay.
Or, I don't know.
This is before remote.
Yeah.
Therapy.
And this is why, because the remote therapy world it's changed everything, because once upon a time, it was a state issue because people saw each other in person, and really they always wanted you to have therapy in person so that you can lay eyes on a person if they were suicidal, if they were right.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's changed so much now is that, we're now realizing that therapy over Zoom, over the phone, it works well. And that, quite frankly, I've never had to call 911 with any of my clients when I was meeting them in person. Like an emergency coming up is very, very rare.
But you can only do Zoom therapy with people in California?
Yeah. It's so silly.
That's
so during the pandemic, a lot of this was loosened up, very loose, because no one, pandemic, no one knew. And there are problems to this. This is the problem. And I is that it puts us as a therapist in such a tricky position, because what happens is that like if someone moves, they move, like, and most likely they probably should find someone else, right? If you move, you move. But it's the clients that you have that go on vacation and or they have to go work somewhere temporarily for a month or two. And so what are they supposed to do? Right? Like you are bound by care as a therapist. You are very much like you have to do what's right for your client and keep, and keep them safe and make sure they're okay. You can't just dump a client without like helping them, figure some things out. So, but then someone leaves for a month or two to another place. I have clients who travel and do all this stuff. And technically you're not supposed to work with them anymore, but it's a little bit like, so what are they supposed to do? Like they're in Oklahoma and they're supposed to find another therapist, get used to that therapist, tell that therapist their entire story. And then by the time they get to anything, they're going to have to come back home and they're back with you.
Okay, but wait a minute. I hear all these ads on podcasts for things like BetterHelp and whatever, which is therapy. And I don't think they're matching people only with people in the client's state. I mean, these are
so it depends on the license
services.
Yes. So every license is different. So LCSWs who really were trained in social work, but if you get that clinical thing, you can have a private practice. Social workers aren't under the same rules that MFTs are. So they can go across the state, across the country. They can work with anyone. And and a lot of this is political. It's about the political body of social workers having more cachet in the world than marriage and family therapists. Then then psychologists, I believe, clinical psychologists, once you get the PhD and you do all that, I do believe that you can work with people in various states as well. So it really depends on like MFTs, LPCCs, I believe are also state by state. So what these services are doing is they are basically, it's coded this way. So if you're an MFT, they're only going to match you with people in California or whatever state you're in. Now, lots of MFTs now are getting licensed in other states. And I've looked into it. Like, what if I got licensed? There's certain states that a lot of my clients go to, like, a lot of clients go to Seattle, New York, Texas. Like, so I've thought about trying to get licensed, but it's in California and it's so rigorous in California that you don't really have to do much, but the process is so convoluted and there's no one who can help you at all, ever. I've called so many different places for various things and they just make it really hard, but people do it. You can get licensed, but it's just like, once you've gone through all this to get to this point, it's like, I don't want to have to study for some really complicated test. And is it worth it to me?
I bet you some states have reciprocal agreements.
Yeah. And you can do that. You can do one case issues, but
like if you're a therapist in California, like maybe a state like, I don't know, Utah or Colorado or something might let you just apply to be licensed, but without having to take the exam. Because I know they do that in some states with the bar exam. Like, if you're from a certain state and you go to another state, you can apply to, for reciprocity. You don't have to take that state's bar exam. So I wonder if they have that for that. But I mean, in this case, we have the Browns. They're in Nevada. I guess Nancy is in Nevada, but they're going to Arizona.
Yeah.
For therapy.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how. And And so sometimes that's why people call them consultants. Sometimes, they use different language. I don't know exactly how they made all this happen with these, but this is why. This is why I think they would still work with Pat if they could, but they can't.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, but the Browns are going to Sedona for a retreat with Pat and Nancy. So they need 2 therapists. They need 2 people to come with them.
Yeah, at least.
And they're all very nervous about Nancy because Nancy has no experience with plural families. And this really gets a bee in Robin's bonnet, I swear. So we see them all. They go over to Nancy's office. This is before they're leaving for Sedona. And she sits down with them and she wants each of them to take a 20-minute personality test. And this is sort of this is the Enneagram, a version of the Enneagram that she's doing. And this was the big thing that happened with Christine and Robin and a bunch of people where Christine identified a personality trait of Robin's and she mentioned it. And then Robin denied.
In season 18.
Yes.
So she said they had taken a personality test in the past and that Robin was her personality, she was very dramatic.
Yes. That her Enneagram number thing was that tended to be dramatic. And so Robin gets on and claims, I've never taken a personality test in my life, or I've never done that. How would Christine know? And so everyone showed this clip of like, you're all going to take a 20-minute personality test now.
Her taking the test. And then she tried to say, well, maybe I was there, but Mary filled it out for me. And
bullshit.
She just kept changing her story. And it's like, well, but it's all on film, right?
Yeah. And
we're watching you take the test. And then they talked about it. And, they did calculated the results or whatever, gave the results and talked about it.
Mm-hmm. And also, I think I feel like Nancy's ethical enough that she wouldn't let Mary fill it out for you.
No. What would be the point?
Yeah. So, so we learn about how polygamists, they don't seek therapy often because of the fear that the therapist will say that there's a problem in plural marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's also the legal pieces too. We are, as therapists, we are mandated reporters. So even if your client says, no, you can't, please don't report that, you got to report it. So I think that's another reason, like if
there's any abuse,
if you get wind of anything and it's very much like, I don't have to have proof. I just have to have an inkling of a sense of it. And I have to at least report it. Doesn't mean that they're going to go out and do anything, but it has to be reported. So, but I did think that was interesting about like, there's a problem with plural marriage. Like, it's so funny. It's like, please don't tell, I want to go to therapy and I want to change my life and I want to feel better, but please don't tell me there's anything wrong with me or my life or anything. Or, okay. So Kody gets into this thing. He's saying this in a solo confession about how, professional educated women or educated people who are in psychology, they tend to appear to be a feminist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a threat to the idea of this family.
Yeah, like feminists would be against polygamy.
Mm-hmm.
Just across the board.
So essentially, Kody, you didn't like being stereotyped. We learned this in the last episode. Now you're stereotyping educated women. Honestly, if I had a plural family come to me tomorrow, I'd be like, okay, fine.
Yeah,
like, I don't care.
Problems are problems,
Yeah.
You're there to try to solve problems. Who cares?
Yeah. And again,
he thinks people are thinking about him way more than they really are.
But also the thing is that no one can make you do anything, number one.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, therapists, our jobs aren't to tell you how to live your life or what to do. It's there to just give you some guiding thoughts and feeling, and just help you with things. I mean, it's like, what do you think therapy is, Kody? Because
he just doesn't want to be told what to do by a middle-aged white lady.
Yeah, essentially. He doesn't want some woman with more education than he does telling him and feeling in any way, shape, or form that she's superior to him.
Yeah.
Because he's sitting there feeling like, oh, she thinks she's better than me.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. Nancy's like, what the fuck do I care about you? Just give me my check. Like, let's go. Kody says that he doesn't want to be sold or told. Sorry. Kody doesn't want to be told he has to do all the work and his wives don't. Now, this is a recurring theme.
Yeah.
And Nancy actually calls him on a little bit of this. And he still, even at the end, he still doesn't get it. Christine wants to go because she wants help with the mission statement. Again, now she's putting, okay, it's not the houses. The houses aren't going to make me happy.
Once we get the mission statement completed, my marriage will be perfect.
Exactly. I will be happy. Kody will love me. I will feel secure.
We'll have a mission.
Yes, yes. Mary wants to work on communication. I don't think I caught what Janelle, I think Janelle's just there for the ride. Robin, who knows? So we do, before we get to before they have to go off to Sedona, Mary and Kody have to have a conversation with Leon regarding college, because Leon ended up not getting as much scholarship money or enough money to pay for Westminster. Mm-hmm. So now they're in a bit of a pickle, because at this point, they're only helping, they're only paying for Logan to go to college, but they've never sat down and figured out with all of our kids, how much can we contribute? Mm-hmm. And so is it fair to give Leon more than somebody else? And I don't disagree with Kody on this, because what he's saying to Leon is, listen, yeah, okay, what's your plan? And Leon's like, well, I'm going to get a second job. And it's like, a second job, a second minimum wage job this summer is barely going to barely do anything, So Leon really digs in, very upset. You're telling me I can't go to school? And Leon's really put them in this position of saying, and a little bit of, again, 18-year-old me was probably this self-involved and this, so singular focus, but just this, it's very much like, I'm going to give up on all my dreams. I'm either going to Westminster or nothing,
Westminster or nothing.
They are unwilling to even talk about or think about, or if you want to go back to Utah so badly, there aren't other colleges. There aren't other places you could go. Didn't we go with Logan to Southern Utah? He visited that school.
Look, they have set this up by not confronting the reality of college until like a couple months before, mm-hmm. She's been accepted. Yeah, that's the thing, if you can't afford to send your child to a certain college, don't let them apply there. Mm-hmm. Or tell them, be straight up, like, if you apply there, we can't pay for that. Mm-hmm. But also, like, Mary never wants to tell Leon no.
Yes, they're so codependent.
Yes, very codependent. And Mary said something like, well, she would find the money, she would use her personal money, and it would, because I guess they're talking about it's their family money, the family pot of money, which is supposed to be given to each kid. And they don't even know how much they're going to give to each kid. And they're figuring this out on the fly.
Yes.
And you're putting the kids involved in the middle of it. They have is this the episode where they summon Leon to this meeting that all the adults are having and really put Leon on the spot?
Yeah, that was really unfair because no, that might be the next one. The rest of the episode is a little bit more about this, but I think then
maybe it's the next episode.
It's the next one. Like, oh yeah, it's the next one, mother-in-law invasion.
Yeah, they're putting Leon in the middle. Leon doesn't know what to do. Nobody knows what to do. And then Mary says, "Well, I'll take my personal money towards it," because she must have done that because Leon did end up going to Westminster College.
Yeah.
But yeah, they once again, the way that they handle all of this is just so chaotic.
Well, it's back to the same issue. We're back to the same place that we were before, which is that it's very unfair that because Mary gets the same budget that Janelle does, that Mary has extra money because she's not feeding all these kids. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. Like, if one of Janelle's kids wanted to go to an expensive school, she wouldn't be able to do it for them. No, there's just no way. So, I understand, like, this is your only child. They're crying to you about how they want to go to this school. And Mary says, I'm not willing to give up on this. I want to make this happen for you. And I get that. I get that as a parent, you do that for your kid. And when you have one kid, you can do that. You really can say, okay, I'm going to, I'm going to make this happen for you. We're going to do this for you. But this keeps coming back to this fundamental problem that Mary shouldn't be getting, I'm sorry, but like she shouldn't be getting equal amount of money for food that Janelle is. I'm sorry. She just shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's not
food,
fair.
Housing, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a pot of money and if it's all that, anyway, yeah, those two are so codependent. And the thing is that it kind of ends up with Kody getting frustrated because we talk more about this in the next episode, but Kody is determined. He does not want his kids to take out loans.
Mm-hmm.
And Robin points out, when they're 18, you can't, they can do some things on their own. They can figure these things out and you can't really stop someone from doing that. And he kind of comes around finally. My guess would be I bet you anything, Leon took out loans.
Probably.
Yeah.
And
I think that's what happened.
Most college students do, unless, your parents are well off and able to just cash flow it. Mm-hmm. Most college students have to take out at least some loans. And, the students, you can get the federally subsidized student loans without your parents. You can just do that on your own. But it's not a lot of money. It's, between $5,500 and $7,500 a year, depending on what year you're in. But if you need a lot of money for a super expensive school, the parents are going to have to co-sign.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is a lot. It's a big thing. And they would just wait till the last minute to even address any of this stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I think that the other thing too is I feel like the Browns the one thing is they've always made it clear with all of their kids that we can't help you that much. Like this is what we're willing to do. And they should have said, okay, we're going to give each kid $5,000 a year or $6,000 a year. This is what we can do. Every kid's going to get this and you can spend however you want. And then it's on Leon to decide. Now, you as the parent can go to Leon and say over and over again, listen, if this was me, this is my recommendation. The problem with these loans is when you're 18, you have no sense of what the world is like and how difficult things are or any of that.
Or how long it's going to take to pay it back.
Yeah, or any of those things. So I think it is a very tricky thing for parents. And I do feel for them. But at the same time, we could have planned ahead a little bit. So now, before we leave for Sedona, don't let us forget because I think it was maybe a couple episodes ago, Kody designed some necklaces for his wives.
Oh, that's right.
And so the jewelry has come in and he's super excited to give it to all the wives before the Sedona trip.
Way to kick off the trip.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a very interesting thing. I mean, I can't remember who they started with. They started with Mary and Mary really liked it. It was like a crown and a heart and Fidelis and she was happy. And Janelle liked hers. It was this tree and rooted and she felt like it was perfect for her. And then Robin's was, of course, the one that Kody has been designing in his mind for years. Robin's is this phoenix bursting from the ashes and all of that. And so the last person to go, and it's interesting that she went last too, like almost like the producers knew.
Yeah.
He gives it to Christine and Christine opens it and looks at it like she just got slapped in the face.
Yeah.
She was so unhappy. And it was like a heart with one side with a fairy in it.
Yeah.
But the other side had this very hard, what she said was very hard check design.
Yeah. And what do they call it? Filament or?
Gradient, filament,
something. Yeah, like it's like a rough surface.
Yeah. So she felt like the etching looked harsh to her. Yeah. And so she's visibly upset. Robin keeps saying, "Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it great? Isn't it great?" And she's like, "Yeah, okay." And Kody's like putting it on her and she obviously isn't happy. And Christine was unhappy because she felt like the etching was really harsh and it felt like she was being perceived as someone who was harsh. Now, Kody did not think, I'm sorry, but I don't think Kody thought about that for one iota.
No.
One iota that he thought about.
With a fairy in it. How could it be harsh just because one side has some etching on it?
Mm-hmm.
I think she didn't like the heart and the fairy thing because it was kind of like, you see these other women in this strong light, the phoenix and the rooted tree and the, fidelity and the crown. And hers is a heart with a fairy that looks like a necklace that frankly like a 13-year-old would wear.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that
all the necklaces look like a 13-year-old would wear it, I just want to say.
But the heart one especially, I think that's what she was upset about. It was kind of like, oh, I don't really take you seriously.
Yeah. I think, and I have another theory, which is this, is that Christine is at this state now where she is looking for breadcrumbs from Kody. Like, she is so unsure about the state of her relationship at all times that these gifts, something that I bet you anything, like Gina or Mike said, hey, do some etching on this side, break it up a little bit. It's a little flat, right? I could see the designer saying that. And Kody being like, oh yeah, that's cool. But she looks at this and she interprets this as the state of the relationship or the entire relationship.
How he
because
feels about her.
Cody gives her so little. Right. And so when Kody does give something to her, she overanalyzes it. And she is creating stories in her mind that don't even really exist. So that was my interpretation. But I agree with you that I think it was partially because it wasn't very attractive. And that fairy thing. And you probably could have picked something else for Christine because she is those things. But I think maybe she wanted to see something. I don't know. She's just... everything feels everything feels like a giant sign to her.
Yeah.
So next, after the jewelry fiasco, so Miss Pat comes. She comes to their houses. She comes to the cul-de-sac. So she's the old therapist. She's meeting all the kids, looking at all the houses, chatting with everyone. Pat's talking to each of them about how they're doing. Mary says she needs to find herself again. And Pat says, like, listen, I didn't start off focusing on plural families, but this is sort of what happened. I mean, I can imagine if you're in a certain part of Utah. And she said, but, really all of this comes down to relationships. It doesn't matter if it's plural or not. It's about relationships. Christine, of course, is very, very nervous. She feels like it will open up a can of worms, which, again, she doesn't want to do that. So... and so then we're off to Sedona. They drive over and day one, I guess, so Pat is there and Nancy's there, but day one, what they're going to do is they're going to start by going on a meditation walk and meditate with these two people that are part of this organization called Spirit Quest. And so it's just a lot of them. I mean, it's really beautiful. Them walking around, going here, sitting down. There's too many ants. The ants are bugging Kody.
Yeah, I would not like all those ants crawling on me.
It's kind of a weird spot, but like apparently the ants were crawling over the two meditators. So they were the two people
unbothered.
leading it. Yeah. Maybe that's part of the process. Meditation very much is about focus and attention. Like, where do you put it? And then we see everyone together. So Nancy gives everybody their test results. So she's telling Mary, she talks to Mary and she says, you tend to be very strong, stronger than other people. You are a number 8 reformer, and reformers are driven to speak their truth. And when she starts talking to Mary about this, Mary starts crying. She's visibly, like, hearing these words, she's visibly upset. And then it gets into this whole thing where Kody jumps in and he starts going, well, he's very dismissive of Mary. And he says, well, I'm not going to use this tool to help me manage Mary and manage my wives. So Cody's already poo-pooing the exercise of, how is this going to help me? How is this going to help me make my life easier, Nancy? Because I don't want to have to do all this work.
Yeah. And it wasn't even about that. It was just taking these tests to, like, get insight into people's personalities and how they react to things and why they react a certain way. It's just to educate each other. And Kody jumps right in thinking that this is some tool to be used against him.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting is in this moment, and this is where I say justice for Nancy, is Nancy says very kindly, she says, Kody, may I be a little bold in this moment? And she points out, she says, I feel like she basically says something to the effect of, I feel like you were very dismissive of Mary. And that really in this moment in time, she's crying over here, like Robin's consoling her. He's doing shit. That in that moment, that what would happen if you respond with a bit more empathy, if you're a bit more empathetic? instead of going right to this point. Because basically what was happening is Kody, Mary, you have feelings, you have struggles, you have problems. Kody coming in, well, I don't want to deal with that shit. That's essentially what happened. And so I don't know so I think it was Kody who said she was aggressive. I'm like,
Nancy was aggressive?
That Nancy was aggressive in that moment.
Mm.
And I think Robin also defends Kody in that moment and she says she was a little aggressive. And I thank God for Janelle, because Janelle goes, she wasn't aggressive, she was assertive.
Mm.
Now, this is something that happens with women a lot. We know this, right?
Mm-hmm.
That this is so misogynistic. But also, as someone who's been in these situations, when you are with more than one person in a room, it is very hard. You are working really hard. You can't make anyone feel like, much like Kody, you cannot make anyone feel like you favor anyone. You cannot make anyone feel like I trust you or like you more. And you have to allow everybody to voice their opinions and feel heard.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is, sometimes you have to say something to someone like, hey, did you feel like Nancy was aggressive? That was not aggressive. She was very calmly said, may I be so bold here? And pointed out how that might have hurt Mary's feelings.
No, anyone who questions Kody in any way, shape, or form, he can't handle.
Yeah. Well, she says to him, she says, she stops him and says, hey, instead of assuming that you know how she feels, why don't you ask her? How do you feel? Psych Legal Pop will be back after these messages. Hey there, it's Tess Brigham, the therapist half of Psych Legal Pop. In addition to being a therapist, I'm also a coach, speaker, and author. And if you go to my website, you'll find courses, ebooks, and worksheets for sale. If you're feeling a bit lost, overwhelmed by life's twists and turns, or you're just simply stuck, I've got you covered. Head over to my website, www.tessbrigham.com, for courses, ebooks, and worksheets tailored to help you unlock your true potential. From relationship struggles to career transitions, I'm here to guide you every step of the way. So stop looking outside of yourself at friends, family, social media for the answers. The answers to all your questions are inside of you. My products and services are the first step in uncovering your true you.
Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
We hear a little bit from Janelle. Janelle says she's really happy being separate. She's happy to, be there in Sedona.
Yeah.
And she's happy to participate in all these things. But hey, she likes her life like this. She's happy to be separate. She really, every 4 days with Kody is enough for her.
That's enough. She's content. Yeah. I think, she's content right now.
Yeah. Well, I also wonder if this is one of the reasons why Kody had such a hard time with Janelle leaving him. Because I think that, again, we all want what we can't have. Mm-hmm. And Janelle has always been a little detached, like a little bit. So she's always kind of kept Kody at bay a little bit. And I think that that's why he's always been trying to chase her a little bit, like he's chasing her. And so I just thought that was so interesting. Like, oh yeah, this must be this dynamic. It's got nothing to do with your abs or pecs or butt or anything else, Kody. It's because you want what you can't have.
Yeah.
Which is why Christine was so appealing when she left you. So then Kody makes a very bold statement, and he says he feels like he does most of the emotional labor in the family.
Oh my God.
So again, we're back to, because I'm the husband, because I have to deal with all of these relationships all the time, I'm doing all the heavy lifting. And and he says, I don't have the stomach for it. And, and I think that that's his reaction to Nancy sort of stopping him and saying, hey, what if you reacted to her differently?
Mm-hmm.
What if you treated her differently? And really what Nancy was saying is like, why don't you treat her with a little bit of respect or love or care? Because you're saying that you love your wives. And you're already seeing Kody so checked out with her. Like he's so angry at her. And he's very angry with her later on. So anyway, that was the end of day one.
God, what a fun weekend.
God, does anyone even get to go on a hike or anything fun? Like Sedona has like nice restaurants and places to go. And like you get to shop or anything. Like this is your whole day in Sedona.
Didn't seem like it.
Yeah. So day 2 in the morning, they were going to do a different activity, but Robin didn't feel well. She was nauseous. Now, is Robin pregnant at this time? When does she announce Ariel?
I think that's a ways down.
Is that after the catfishing or before?
I'm
sure someone out there knows this, but
probably before. But
okay.
But this is not like this does not happen in this season.
Okay,
she's not pregnant. She
if she was, this would have been the ending. Yeah,
no, she doesn't want to go. I don't blame her.
Yeah.
This isn't fun. She's like, I can't do this for another day.
Maybe she and Kody were up late last night, talking. And then he's like, oh God, it's midnight. I got to go over to Christine's room now and sleep there. Okay,
yeah, because
bye, my love.
It is her night.
Yeah, it's her night. So I
got to get there before the clock strikes 12. So I get credit.
Yeah, we're still in this day, Christine. We're still in this day. And then 6 a.m. comes and he's rushing off to Robin's. Oh, you feel nauseous? Are you tired?
You don't have to go. You just stay right here.
So they have another meditation. And this is something that Kody uses these words a lot. Hippie, earthy. Like he keeps kind of like all of these things are right. And Sedona is, there's crystals. There's, of the earth. There's a lot of that spiritual stuff. Mm-hmm. And I know it is not for everyone, but to keep using words like it's so derogatory, like hippie, like to be a hippie, to be someone who meditates, it's like so rude and angry and I mean, okay. So they went on another meditation, and basically it's like a walking meditation where they're working with this guy and he tells them about the tail of the grasshopper, and if the grasshopper moves it turns and it looks at you, and this is how people are within relationships, and he's like, well, let's keep going. This
is not what the Browns need. Like this is just a waste of time. Like they need like intensive like individual therapy, and then some focused like couples therapy and family therapy and whatever. Like this weekend thing in Sedona, this is not.
It's content. Yeah, and
I
think the other part of it too, which I understand, is I think that Nancy probably was going to do, and we'll see this later. She said they had to change things up because Robin didn't feel well, so. She wanted to do the family sculpting exercise. She wanted to do the individual talks with everybody. She wanted to do all that in the morning and then do the meditation in the afternoon. Because again, this is the problem with these retreats is there's just so much work you can do. And then then all these people feel like I have to entertain you constantly. And so I think that's what happened is they were like, okay, we'll do something hard in the morning and then this meditation. But Robin effed it all up.
Yeah.
So, and then Pat, in the middle of this walk, has to leave. She's just like, well, this is where I leave you.
Yeah, this is where I'm transitioning out.
And she hugs everyone goodbye and goodbye. And off Pat goes. off into the world.
Never to be seen again.
Yes. So, and then, so everyone, Nancy thought it would be a good idea for everyone to do individual sessions. So she goes to each of their hotel rooms and talks to them about like, what is it that you want? And these clips sort of intersperse, we kind of going back and forth. But Janelle says she's committed to the family, but she doesn't know where she fits in anymore. She doesn't know how much she wants to be involved in all this stuff. She does admit that she's had to, she says, I've had to get used to Mary's personality over the years.
Ooh.
So, and I think that whatever happened between Janelle and Mary was so bad that Janelle is never going to forgive her.
Yeah. And I also think it's ongoing. I feel like it wasn't, it was really bad in those early days, but I feel like Mary has just always been very harsh and hard to deal with. She's very bossy. She's very, whenever they're out and the family's, doing stuff together, she's always the one who's kind of like takes charge. And so, yeah, I think she just doesn't like her personality.
Yeah. Which goes back to that whole thing of these two women were never going to be friends.
No.
They weren't going to be friends inside this family, and they're not going to be friends outside of this family. And that's how, right? You have a cousin or a relative or someone. It's like, yeah, not all siblings get along. Right? Like, and that's why this forced friendship feels so ridiculous. Like, if I was their therapist, I wouldn't be trying to force a friendship. I would just be working on mutual respect. Mutual respect and what do you need to do to get along and be kind to each other. Stop being friends. And then Mary says she has a really hard time trusting people. And I'm sure she said a little bit more about that, but I get the sense that maybe when she means trust, I think that Kody throws a lot of things back in her face. I think she doesn't trust to be honest with Kody because I think he throws things back. And I think that she doesn't feel, she feels the energy from Janelle and Christine that they don't like her. So she feels like why
alone.
tell anybody anything?
Yeah.
Kody says that he wants to work on his relationships with his wives and, but he doesn't know if the sister wives want to work on their relationships together. So he's saying like, I want to work on my relationship with all the sister wives, but I don't know if they want to work on their relationships, I think somewhat with me or with each other. And, he kind of went into this whole thing about like, we had so much baggage that we came into so many of these relationships. Robin, of course, is, she wants to be closer to her sister wives. She wants the big picture. She wants the dream that she had been promised. And it's not quite that. And Christine really wants to start this mission statement.
That's all she's got. That's all she can hope for.
Yeah.
It's a mission statement.
Yeah. Because she's too afraid to say my relationship with Kody sucks.
Yeah.
And it's awful. And I think he's in love with this other person. And I don't think this isn't working. So she's really going to focus on the mission statement. Yeah. Oh, and then they go back to Mary, and Mary says she's hesitant to speak up because of past relationships. She's afraid of overstepping bounds. And I think this is also something else. My guess is I think that Mary maybe has overstepped some bounds and been maybe too bossy with Janelle. And I think Kody went right back to Mary and yelled at her. That's my guess. And that's why. So then we see this infamous scene that we see in a lot of episodes, like they replay a lot. It's called family. They don't call it this, but it's called family sculpting. It's a kind of modality, it's part of family therapy, and it's an exercise that people can do, which is Nancy says, okay, I want you all to sculpt using your bodies, position yourself with where you are now, how you feel about people, how close are you with everybody? Are you far away or that? And then she also wanted them to then stop and then, okay, sculpt what you would like. What does work for you? And of course, this creates, Christine has a bit of a meltdown because, well, before that, Kody gets really angry, and he talks about this in his little in his confessional, where he talks about like, oh my God, this Nancy is so aggressive. This is too much. This is so vulnerable. I can't do this. I'm looking for the emotional back door. Like, he talks about being like a deer in headlights.
Well, what did you think you were coming here to do?
Yeah. Because this sculpting exercise, I think this was all too much for Kody to begin with.
I think that's a lot. I would not want to do that sculpting thing.
It is a lot. I mean, it is. And listen, I've never done it with a family. I do think it is a lot. I think, it's a proven exercise that's been done, and it does, so I don't think that she's not pulling this out of the air. It's been researched and studied and looked at, but it is uncomfortable. And Kody didn't, I think a couple things. I think Nancy pissed Kody off because she didn't, she let that woman in her feminism, was so aggressive. But the second thing is that I think that it was going to call out what was happening, and he didn't want that.
He didn't want that.
So it starts with like Kody standing still, and of course Robin goes right up to Kody and starts holding his hand. Yeah, like this is where we are, and these two they're holding hands. Mary doesn't know where to go, and so then Robin grabs Mary's hand and holds her hand. And so we've got like Mary, Robin in the middle, and Kody, the three of them holding hands in a row, which is so bizarre. And of course, Mary's like, okay, this is a good spot for me. And then Janelle it's so funny too, because Janelle just steps a few feet out and like, I'm over here. And she's fine with it. She's like, okay. She has no issues. And then Christine's walking around not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
Not knowing what it is, because she knows that she is way far out, or she feels closer to Janelle, but not to anybody else. So she freaks out. She doesn't know what to do. We never do in the end see where Christine stands, or she ends up going way far out.
Yeah. She's just wandering around on the perimeter. But okay. The fact that Robin went over and immediately started holding hands with Kody, where does that leave everybody else? That act right there basically ices everybody else out. To the point Mary had to hold Robin's hand. She wasn't even that close to Kody. And then the other two literally can't even bring themselves to even come close to him. I mean, that was very telling.
Yeah. Well, and that she kind of claimed it. She claimed it, named it very early on. She didn't even wait to see what anybody else was going to do.
Who?
Robin. But, and so, it does. Everybody else is kind of like, where do I
what do myself? I do now?
Yeah. So they then get into this whole thing about like Kody starts talking to them about like, well, if I died tomorrow, I want my family to stay together. I would want you to stay together, but I don't feel like you would all stay together if I was gone.
And they absolutely would not.
Yeah. And this gets into this whole thing of, Kody, he's like, I'm the common denominator. Like, basically, I'm the glue that keeps everything together. And if I wasn't here, this would all fall apart, or you all wouldn't be friends, or you all wouldn't figure it out. Which again, I think is why he is so mad that Janelle and Christine are friends now, and kind of with all their kids and all of that, like realizing like, oh, you didn't need me. I made it seem like I was worried about this, but I didn't want you all to be bonded.
Yeah. And again, you were the common denominator, Kody. You were the one who created these rifts by your actions or inactions or lack of leadership or whatever. Yeah. You're the loser. Like, not the other way around.
But even Kody didn't say anything to Robin at all about like, hey, I don't feel comfortable with you grabbing my hand. That's not fair. Like, it's not fair to the other women.
No, he liked it.
Oh, yeah.
He thinks they all should be grabbing at him, trying to get as close as they can.
His hard pecs and his 6-pack abs. So their basic solution to this of like how they want to be is all of them gathered together arm in arm, like in a circle with their foreheads pressed up against each other. And I was like, okay, really? Is this the solution? Because Kody is still Kody's still on the out, right? Like he's still next to 2 women. Still not all 4. So.
Yeah, that was a desperate attempt to try to save that.
Yes.
Save that horrible exercise.
So they finally do an exercise that they love and they can all agree with. And guess what? It helps them with the mission statement. So Christine is so happy. After Christine's horrible turn from the sculpting exercise, she is so thrilled. And so they have a bunch of blocks, various sizes, black blocks that you can write on with chalk. And I mean, it's word art to the nth degree. And so it's each of them grabs a block. You put a value of what you want for the family, for yourself on the block. And then you then put it together as a shape. And so they're showing them like writing all these words of, loyalty and family goes in the middle and God and honor and respect and all of these things, forgiveness. And they're putting it together. And then everybody's, going in circles about like how it should all be arranged. But Christine's taking a picture. She's so happy. Yeah, she's like, finally, I have some words.
This is the core of the mission statement. We should compare those blocks to what ultimately ends up being the mission statement. I bet you it's word for word.
Yeah. That's the other thing. Christine went about this whole mission statement incorrectly, but like she should have sat down with the adults, gotten all of these words, and then sat down and wrote it and then said, okay, you change things that you want to be changed. Like not everyone has to write every word for you all to agree. Too many cooks in the kitchen. So anyway, that's the end of the trip and they're all saying goodbye. And basically, it was hard, it was difficult and blah, 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 and Kody does, I think this is a problem with this thing is like, how do you then take all of this with you? What do you do? Like, what do you do differently? And I think that is one of the things that maybe Nancy outlined it for them, but they, this way. Okay, so what now? How do we move forward with this? And at the end, Robin's she's very hesitant about Nancy because she's a monogamist, and that's how it ended.
Suspect.
Yeah, she's very sus, as the youngsters would say, because she is a monogamist, and how could anybody who works with relationships all day, every day, possibly understand people's relationships? It's like, justice for Nancy here. I mean, it's not all, some of this is, it's producers. I bet you anything, those therapists went to the producers and said, okay, these are all the things they can do. And I, they kind of blame, I don't know. I just feel for Nancy. I'm like, I've been there. Like, you're not happy, so you're angry at me.
Yeah.
I didn't create any of this. I just asked you to sculpt I just asked you to stand.
Yeah. And like I said, God, they have so much work to do. Not enough hours in the day.
Oh God, no. To do all the work they need
to do individually and together and what, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like a therapist nightmare.
Yeah, it is.
This family.
It is. And couples counseling is really hard and family counseling is really hard. Anytime you have more than one person in the room, it's harder. It gets harder.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. You're managing a lot of personalities and a lot of people, and not everyone's going to be satisfied. So anyway, so that's it.
Wow, I'm
what
exhausted.
an episode. Yes, I know. I feel like I've been through therapy.
Yes. I need a break to process all this.
So thank you so much for tuning in. We are continuing our Sister Wives coverage on Tuesdays, and then Thursdays we have our documentaries and other things that are of interest to us that we're talking about. If you like this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. And if you haven't already, please give us a 5-star rating and review. Those reviews and ratings and all of it, the subscriptions, all of it helps us to spread the word and grow the podcast. And those of you who have been doing that, thank you so much. We so appreciate you. And we are on social media at Psych Legal Pop at TikTok and Instagram. And I think that's it.
Yep.
Is that it? All right, everybody.
All right. See you
Talk
later.
To you next time. I always say see ya, and we're never seeing these people. Well, so I need to change that. Talk to you.
Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. TTYL. All
That's right. Bye.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
That new thing? Yeah, we've got it. The Drop by GNC, bringing you all the newness that matters, handpicked by the pros who actually know what's up and what's proven to work. We keep you on top of the trends and dialed into what's next. Whether you're crushing it at the gym, leveling up your game, or thriving every day, The Drop by GNC is where the latest solutions in health and wellness land first. Non-stop innovation and fresh finds daily. Explore what's new and what's next on The Drop by GNC.